Today we will discuss one of the most misunderstood Japanese martial arts, Iaido. So why do I consider Iaido to be one of the most misunderstood martial arts? In Japan, we've got a lot of different kinds of martial arts, and even if we just focus on those having to do with weapons and weapon training, we have martial arts dedicated to the usage of bow, martial arts dedicated to the usage of the naginata and many other weapons. Now, even if we want to again close the focus within swordplay, and excluding very big swords such as the nodachi, or very peculiar ones such as the nagamaki, even focusing on the katana, we still have kenjutsu, which is an umbrella term for a whole variety of schools. We have modern kendo, and ultimately we have iaijutsu, which became modern Iaido. Now, of course, in media, video games, films, we all know that katana became the most popular weapon, even though it was not the most used weapon on the battlefield at all, considering bows, polearms and gunpowder. Yet, we do sort of have an idea on how katana were used. And for some reasons, I believe that European longsword and European greatsword are much more misunderstood as a weapon, considering the fact that most people imagine Western medieval swords to be clumsy, to be heavy, but this never really scratches the mind of anyone interested in katana fights. You always imagine it to be quick. You never really imagine people telegraphing their moves. And I do have to say that particularly Japanese games focused on katana play tend to be quite accurate, considering the fact that only recently fantasy game portraying the usage of longswords, for example, have actually started to consider and to take into consideration guards, positions, ready positions, stances and actual cuts. The Japanese have been doing this with the katana for quite a while, if you consider the whole series of Way of the Samurai games, where you do see the katana being used in quite a reasonable way, with some exceptions occasionally. But the real problem is with Iaido. Well, you see, in games and sometimes in films, you often see practitioners of Iaido as, first of all, as a completely separate martial art. Like there are people practicing kenjutsu, samurai practicing kenjutsu, who fight with you with their sword in their hand already, drawn from the saya, the scabbard. And then you have practitioners of Iaido who instead wait, keep the sword in the scabbard because that's their stance, that's the way they fight, and that's the ready position. This is nonsense. First of all, samurai were trained in multiple skills, it being kyudo, it being kenjutsu, it being jujutsu and iaijutsu. So it was one of the skill creating the repertoire of skills of the samurai. So having said this, a samurai who's using iaijutsu is not a samurai who's choosing to keep the sword in the scabbard as he faces his opponent because he has trained so much that he's actually quicker, or he's renouncing some defense in order to gain greater offense. It's a samurai who's practicing, no, this is not iaijutsu, this is not Iaido. The whole idea of this discipline focusing on a draw cut or bato jutsu is in case you are attacked and the sword was still in the scabbard. Is you are walking around the streets, because again, keep in mind that the katana was, rather than a battlefield weapon, was a sort of town weapon. You can't really imagine a samurai going around his town with a naginata and a bow and the full regalia. So katana and wakizashi were easy to keep, and when they were inside, they would normally remove the katana and just keep the wakizashi. So having said this, the samurai is going around and then someone attacks him, and he has practiced iaijutsu and iaido so many times that he can slice them, kill them off and put the sword back. This does not mean, however, that there would be any possible reason to keep the sword in the scabbard if you already have spotted an enemy who is coming towards you. In that case, you unsheath your weapon and you get ready to fight in the whatever stance you wish to use, whether it be chudan, jodan, waki, anything but the yai stance. But this is something that a lot of games don't get right, and now I see people practicing Iaido who actually do sparring, and they do just that. It could be interesting, it could be fun as a way of practicing, but we should not get the idea that this is how samurai practicing Iaido were actually facing their opponents. This would be a big misunderstanding. It is always advantageous to unsheath your sword and assume a ready position. Alright then, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please remember thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more content from the Metatron. And remember, the Metatron has spread his wings.